Continuing on with science, module number 4, here we go. These are your 5 Ds. I know there's 10 Ds, 50 Ds, 100 Ds. You can extrapolate as much as you want. I'm going to give you the 5 that you need to know, that are simple, that are to the point, that can help drive your education inside your practice. And so the first one is dyskinesia. Lack of, what is the root word dys? Lack of or without? Movement, right? This is your subluxation. This is your fixation. I've gravitated away from that word. Not that I'm like against the lexicon of chiropractic. It's just your people don't understand it. But they can understand synovial joints, just like a knee or an elbow or anything else, is that it gets stuck, it's fixated, it can't move. And we know there's 2 inherent priorities or responsibilities of our spine. The first one's inherent. It just protects the spinal cord. You have to have one. The second one, you're a human being and it has to move. I literally talk to my patients just like this. It has to move. When it doesn't move, for whatever reason, stress, anxiety, physical trauma, that's when we get into trouble, because now the spine, instead of protecting, it actually starts to interfere with the very nerves it's meant to protect. That's what dyskinesia is. So we lose that motion, we lose that proprioception. That's going to set off our next D, and it's disafferentation. We have afferent nerves, we have efferent nerves. And the ones we're going to talk about are the ones heading to the brain, because if we lost movement, we lost proprioception, that's going to put the brain in a state of fight or flight. That's where we start dumping all our stress hormones like cortisol, adrenaline, norepinephrine we've already talked about. But that's how, and why is that? Because the brain doesn't like the fact that it's not getting all its information. I'll tell them, like, it's kind of like a general on a battlefield that has to make decisions. If I get poor information in, I'm going to get poor output. I can't make decisions. So I have people telling me what's going on, but I'm not getting good information. Well, that would stress me if I were a general on the battlefield. And that's kind of what happens to our stellar brain and our prefrontal cortex if we're not getting good proprioception into our cerebellum, into our prefrontal cortex. It stresses us out. It leaves us with dysautonomy. And then what does that look like? That looks like those hormones, that cortisol and that adrenaline and that norepinephrine, right? And we start dumping that, which leads to errors in energy expenditure. That's what we're going to measure on our EMG. We're going to look for that symmetry and balance, because when the nervous system's gone awry, it starts just throwing energy at everything. The general starts just firing off the cavalry and off the cannons and off the infantry and everything all at once, and it's just all over. That's your ADD, ADHD, just sympathetic dominant situation. And if we live in this world for long enough, we're going to be disconnected. That's our 5th D in this model, and we're going to call it disconnected. They're disconnected from reality. And most of the time, to add fuel to the fire, we put them on psychotropics. We put them on serotonin reuptake inhibitors. We put them on, Concerta and Vyvanse and Adderall and all the other things that you see. And so that just disconnects them from reality that much further. And so if we want to reconnect our patients, what do? We change this. We start with the kinesia. We start by putting motion. We drive the afferentation to feed that brain. We get that autonomic shift so they can start dumping some more cortisol or serotonin and dopamine, and we can get them more connected and more relatable, get them out of that fight or flight state, get them out of their errors of energy expenditure, and we can reconnect them with their life. And so that's what we do. So you can extrapolate. There's a lot more dis-ease. There's all kinds of, without ease in the body, but most of this is as far as you'll have to go. And I probably don't take it very far unless I'm doing an education, some kind of patient education class inside of our office. But it's good for you to know these things. And if you have that mom, especially with some of your higher end, or just maybe your more problematic patients, somebody suffering with ADD or ADHD where your care plan, or autism where your care plan may need to go longer, you might want to dig into that, because that's why we're using a repetition over time to change the proprioception that's feeding that cerebellum and feeding that prefrontal cortex so that brain can make better decisions. But if you know these 5 and you got them down really, really well, I think you can run wherever you want. This is bare minimum. This will get you where you need to go. And so use this stuff, guys. I think we have one more module inside of this science module, yeah, dig into stuff. It will serve you. We'll see you on the next one.